Welcome to the Lonely Triathlete. My name is Todd and I am the Lonely Triathlete, coming to you from Vancouver, British Columbia in 2023. Happy New Year. If you've never been to this channel before, it used to be called Tumor to Triathlon because 4 years ago I essentially got a tumor. It's not really a tumor, but let's just call it a tumor in my brain. And the question I had for myself was, would I ever be able to train for and race in a triathlon again? Well, that was 4 years ago. If you go back and look at my other channel postings, you'll see, yeah, I actually was able to train for and do a triathlon again and have a lot of fun doing it and continue to do it to this day. Now, I started a podcast a year ago, and I'll put a link to the podcast down below. If you prefer to listen rather than watch and listen, you can take a look at the podcast and maybe you can follow me there if you're so inclined. I'm going to be doing this year video, the video channel only, but then I'm going to take the audio out and I'll fire it into the podcast, so you can come to either or both locations to get the same thing. Yes, I am wearing my Costa Rica toque because I was in Costa Rica for 6 weeks on an extended vacation. I'll talk a bit more about that in a second, but back to the reason why this channel exists, now in the form of the Lonely Triathlete. It's because I am a lonely triathlete. Much like probably 80% of you who are watching, I do my training alone. Swim alone, bike alone, run alone, work out in the gym alone. And I'm not lonely per se, but I don't have anyone to talk to about the things that I think about when I'm doing these things. And I thought, you know what, if you are looking for someone to virtually hang out with and listen in on, like, essentially what is a video diary or a diary of what I get up to in my training, then that's what this is about. I want to make these like 5 to 15 minutes in length, and they'll just be about what I'm thinking, feeling, experiencing during my various training endeavors. It probably is related to triathlon 90% of the time, but it doesn't have to be. I might be thinking about family, friends, quantum physics. I'm not joking, I'm really into quantum physics these days, and I might want to share that with anyone who cares to listen or watch. So that's what this channel is about. If you're a lonely triathlete like me, well, maybe we can connect at some level on this channel. So here we are in 2023. A quick recap of 2022. I had one of the best training years of my entire life. I trained 6 days a week, consistently every single day with very, very few exceptions. Hence placed in the triathlon, in the Olympic distance triathlon, I took 2 podiums. So in July, I took 3rd place in Washington, USA. And in September of 2022, I came in 2nd. This is in my age group, of course, at the Vancouver Triathlon. So super psyched. I also came in 3rd in a 10K race back in May of 2022. So it was an amazing year for triathlon results. In my podcast, I share all of the things that I was doing that I think led to having one of the best racing seasons of my entire life. And then I hurt my back terribly. After my Vancouver race, a week later, I bent down to pet a dog. I didn't even bend down, I squatted down to pet a dog. And when I got up, my back was wrecked. I feel like I popped a disc. I did go get x-rays and whatnot. Maybe x-rays weren't the best thing to get, but I got it got looked at, and the doctor hasn't called me back to say he found anything. So I don't know what happened to my back, but I was wrecked. I mean wrecked for 2 or 3 weeks. Then just as I got over my back issue and wanted to start training again, because that essentially was 3 weeks off, I boiled my foot. I dropped a whole pot of boiling water on my foot and boiled my big toe, something fierce. So for 2 weeks I couldn't even walk. Finally I get over my boiled foot and I go to Costa Rica for 6 weeks. It was amazing, amazing, amazing. And I did some biking and some running, but I felt like I didn't have an off season because I was injured so much, so I just used that time to just completely get away from training. Stayed very, very, very active, but didn't do any training per se. And Then at the beginning of December, I came back to Vancouver and thought, okay, I'm going to do my training now. I'm going to start getting back into it, and I got COVID. Oh, so it's taken me a few weeks to get over COVID. I was coughing even up until yesterday, so that wasn't good. So finally, here we are, January 2nd, 2023, and I finally feel like I've got some energy to train again. I've lost 2 or 3 months of training. Not the best, but it is what it is, right? So we'll see what I can do to salvage a training and racing season in 2023. Quick thoughts on what I'm going to do new this year. I've been flirting with delaying my caffeine intake. Rather than waking up right in the morning and grabbing coffee right away, I've been thinking of delaying that. Apparently it's better. You can extend the wakefulness that you have later in the day, and you don't have to drink as much. Problem is, as I start training again, I think it's very beneficial to have caffeine before you do a lot of your training. So I probably won't delay caffeine intake much longer. So that's something I'm doing now but might not do later. Been looking into cold immersion. You know, in the last few years, the whole Wim Hof method has been this huge thing, and so I want to know more of the science of it. I know there's a lot of science on heat immersion. There's a lot of science on contrast therapy, that is heat, cold, heat, cold, heat, cold. And there is some emerging science on cold immersion. I just don't know if the way I'm doing it is actually going to do anything, because I don't have a tub, and so I have to do it in the shower. And I don't know, is that even doing anything, or is it just making me uncomfortable for the sake of being uncomfortable? I need to find out that I'm actually doing something beneficial by freezing myself in the shower. Then I'll continue doing it. But if it's just making me feel uncomfortable, I'm not going to do it. Now, thankfully, I live in this place, and I've got freezing cold ocean there 9 months of the year. I think maybe I'd say probably 8 months of the year it's below 50 Fahrenheit, and then it gets up, you know, to like 65 or something like that. It certainly never gets warm, but for cold therapy I think it would be perfect. So maybe I start dipping into the ocean. If the cold shower isn't giving me enough, then dipping in that thing is going to do something for me for sure. So cold therapy I'm flirting with. Delayed caffeine for now, but maybe not for later. And I'm sure I'm doing one other thing. It'll come to me, and as it does, then I'll put it on video and put it on my podcast. So anyway, that's just a quick intro into what this channel is going to be all about. It's going to be light and informal. If you ever want to reach out to me in email and just say hi, that'd be awesome. My email is thelonelytriathlete@gmail.com. Otherwise, yeah, I am going to head back to my condo in a few minutes and do a 30-minute very, very easy ride on the bike, because as I said, I'm just getting back into training after 3 months off. I can't possibly risk getting injured by starting up too quickly, so I'm going to do that. And I'll try to do a weekly video, again 5 to 15 minutes of me just chatting, a little video diary about how my training is going. And I would like to hear from you. I would love to hear from you. Otherwise, I'm just talking to the camera, and if that's what I have to do, that's what I have to do. But so from a 4-degree chilly January 2nd day in Vancouver, I'm wishing you all the best, and I will be back soon.